So the vice president wanted you to meet with me.
Sort of. I wanted to meet with you.
Okay.
You didn't ask who I was.
Should I?
Washington. Everyone loves a secret. Have you met any mysterious men here yet?
Yes. I have.
Where did you meet them?
At the concession stand in the Smithsonian.
So you've met with strange men only in the Smithsonian.
Well, there's my friend Alan. Many consider him strange.
So you knew him before you came to Washington?
I know him from my time in Oregon.
Did you desert the army and defect to Canada?
No, I was never in the army. There was some mix-up about a draft, but Reagan said there was no draft, so therefore I wasn't drafted.
But you volunteered for the army.
I volunteered to do non-combatant projects for the army in preparation for the punitive phase of my trial for the crime of not registering for the selective service.
Credit for time served.
Yes.
How much credit do you have?
18 years by my reckoning.
And how much time did it take you to do this?
About 2 years.
How is that possible?
I was given lists of projects with time equivalences. I took experimental vaccines, jumped out of airplanes with experimental parachute foldings, and spearheaded projects in the electronics and communication fields.
Spearheaded projects, eh? So you're going to take credit for other people's work?
Quite frankly, sir, I intend to. I appealed to the private sector for volunteer work, whose credit would be applied toward the freedom of one man, who was working for freedom and vocally advocating the abolition of the draft.
But there was no draft.
Exactly.
And how many hours did your volunteers put in?
I have no clue, but judging from the number of projects we ticked off, it must have been astronomical.
I see. But why should you care about all of this if you're a Canadian citizen?
I was never a Canadian citizen. When I entered Canada, they asked me what it was that I wanted. I said I just wanted to go home. So I spent a few weeks on the Alcan Highway hitchhiking to Alaska.
You were seen wearing a Mounties uniform.
I only wore that on the road. I had to take it off if I left the Alcan. Stepping off the road was officially entering Canada.
What would have happened if you wore the Mounties uniform into Canada?
It would have been equivalent to renouncing my American citizenship.
But why the uniform?
To publicize my cause, I think. It wasn't my idea, I was just trying to follow the rules.
So you didn't defect?
No sir, I was simply going home.
Did you announce yourself at the Alaskan border?
Yes, and they welcomed me home.
Did you ever return to Canada?
No.
And you've been here ever since?
Yes.
Do you work for the Canadian government?
Do I look like I work for the Canadian government?
What do you mean by that?
On whose authority do you ask?
People who use that phrase are almost always exactly what they are accused of being.
I view it as a sort of Fifth Amendment support endeavor.
I don't understand.
If the only time anyone used that phrase were when they were trying to conceal something, then the phrase would no longer be effective at concealment.
Are you concealing something?
Do you represent law enforcement?
Haha. Do I look like I represent law enforcement?
Actually, you do.
Well, I can assure you that I do not look like I represent law enforcement.
I am invoking my right to remain silent.
You can't do that until you are arrested.
Then what's the purpose of the Fifth Amendment anyway? That's a catch-22.
By speaking, you have waived your right to remain silent. Do you understand me? We can sit here all day until you answer me.
Am I under arrest?
Well, I guess that's all I wanted to know. Maybe we should leave it at that.